Well, I think the first thing that stunned me is when all the Buffalo players came on the field and they did a wall of players around him. And then when you saw players turn and head to the sidelines and you saw the outpouring of emotion from the Buffalo players, we're talking about these big, tough, great athletes weeping and praying and holding hands and sitting on the bench, crestfallen. When they did a close up shot of Sean McDermott kneeling on the field and his face was ashen, we know how devastating the injury was. And then we saw the reaction. Um, at that point in time, they continued to work on him for that very critical 9-minute window from 5:55 to 6:15 our time. And then we saw the players congregate on the field. And Joe Burrow was the first one, the Bengal quarterback, walked across the field and embraced Josh Allen. And they talked. And then you saw other players. And then as we got to 6:14, when they put him in the ambulance to take him out to the hospital, we saw all the players from both teams kneel in a prayer group. It was absolutely stunning. And then we saw the two coaches, Zach Taylor, Sean McDermott, meet at midfield with the referee, Sean Smith. And I assume they're talking about the condition of the player. And then I think I was told that they both went to the referee, Sean Smith, and said, what should we do? Well, Sean Smith was in contact via cell phone to the league office. So that's when the referee kind of took control of this thing. And I give a lot of credit to the referee because there's no playbook for this. This is the first time this has ever happened.
Right.
That referee told both coaches, I need you to have your space. I need you to take your players to your respective locker rooms while the league is then doing its conference calls as to how to handle this. So they went to their rooms. Then from what I was told, Sean McDermott and Josh Allen talked to the Buffalo players. Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow talked to the Cincinnati players. And I'm led to believe that players from both sides indicated, we don't think we can go back on the field and play. And they went to the referee. Sean Smith was in contact with the league office by that point in time. He relayed the information to the league office that these players are not in the mental state that they want to go back on the field. And then the decision was made to suspend the game, postpone the game, cancel the game, whatever you want to call it. I was told that the league allowed the players to make the decision. And that's the way this whole thing evolved. It was a phenomenal display of leadership. And I think that's the thing that impressed me the most, that head coaches are all about X's and O's. And head coaches, John, are about sales pitches. How we're going to do this. How do you respond to this adversity? These head coaches took a leadership role. And then yesterday, Zach Taylor, the Cincinnati coach, in his first press conference, because the league shut down all the press conferences around the NFL. Nobody held press conferences. Yesterday was the first time anybody was allowed to talk. And Zach Taylor stood up at his press conference, and he indicated, and he credited Sean McDermott for taking the role in what has to be a catastrophic environment with his Buffalo Bills players, with the near-death experience of that player. And he said Sean McDermott told him, Zach Taylor, I should be at the hospital with my player. I should not be coaching this team right now. And that's how they decided to get to that finish line where the game will not go on. And then it's been followed by, press conferences from there on, and the NFL revealing, and the NFL never opens up about how it does its business of being the NFL, revealing about the 60-minute meetings before every game, whether it's a preseason game or it's a regular season game or it's a playoff game, the medical package that's put together in the emergency action plan, I think is what they call it. It's phenomenal. And then when you hear players like Deion Dawkins, the star tackle of the Bills, talk about his whole mindset of being an NFL player changed by virtue of the near-death experience of a teammate, but also his mindset about what these owners and that Park Avenue leadership is all about. And it's taking care of the players. Because usually, historically, in the middle of contract disputes and everything, John, it's us against them. It's the players and the union against the owners making all this money and Roger Goodell and all these decisions. but I think a lot of eyes were open. Deion Dawkins at the tackle enunciated it specifically. We know they care for us because look at what they just did in the darkest moment of being an NFL player. So that's how they got to this point in time. Your reaction to what you saw?
I mean, it's great to hear that the NFL has, all these things that are happening behind the curtain in terms of prepping for these kinds of emergencies. That's great to hear. I mean, it's just such an emotional situation, but it is. You figure it's got to be a lot of pressure on the league, on the TV, the media, all the money that's involved to keep the game going. But they did the right thing and did the best thing for the players.
Exactly.